This chart shows the year-to-date performance of privacy-focused cryptocurrency protocols against a standard market baseline. Monero is up 58%, Zcash is up 352%, and Railgun's native token recently surged 175%. The market is actively pricing in a problem that advocates have warned about for years: the total lack of financial privacy on the blockchain. If you operate on major Ethereum virtual machine networks, chains like Ethereum, Arbitrum, or Polygon, you are functioning in an environment of radical transparency. By default, the architecture broadcasts every action you take. Staking tokens, providing liquidity, or interacting with a smart contract leaves a highly specific trail. Your wallet address, your exact trading patterns, and your total account balances are permanently cataloged on a public ledger for anyone to see. That exposure is unalterable. You cannot delete a transaction history, and you cannot hide inside a glass house. The digital footprint you create today will remain visible and searchable forever. Users are looking for a way out of this trap. The core promise of decentralized finance is financial autonomy, but that autonomy currently requires accepting absolute surveillance. To get actual freedom, the market is turning to protocols built specifically to sever the link between a public identity and on-chain wealth. Railgun functions as a smart contract overlay deployed directly on top of existing transparent networks. This set of code provides a localized privacy layer without requiring users to migrate to a separate native privacy blockchain. The system works by establishing a forensic boundary known as shielding. This is the exact moment where your public financial data goes completely dark. To cross that boundary, you initiate a public transaction, sending tokens from your 0x address directly into the Railgun smart contract. Inside, zero-knowledge proofs convert your deposit into a locked cryptographic note, assigning it to a private 0zk address only you control. The ledger records that your initial deposit occurred. The public can see you sent funds to Railgun, but the destination of those assets and whatever happens to them next is entirely obscured. Shielding drops a cryptographic curtain over the asset. The base layer successfully records a valid transaction, but it learns absolutely nothing about the token's true owner or their intent. Once your tokens are shielded, they enter a shared private pool. When you make an outgoing transaction from this environment, the blockchain doesn't see your wallet. It sees the transaction originating from generic broadcaster addresses. Internal Railgun transactions protect 4 distinct data points: the identity of the sender, the identity of the recipient, the token type being moved, and the exact amount transferred. Take the session token, or SACE, which cowers the session messaging network. A user can shield their sesh to simply hold their balances privately, or they can stake those tokens to run nodes without ever broadcasting their net worth to the public. To manage this, a Railgun wallet gives you 2 distinct tools. Your spending key acts as your active private key, allowing you to move and swap funds. Your viewing key is strictly passive. It allows you to audit your own private history for tax compliance without risking the ability to spend the assets. The internal pool acts as a parallel, hidden economy. You can swap tokens and interact with external decentralized apps, all while maintaining total operational secrecy from anyone trying to trace your movements on the public chain. But that secrecy has a structural vulnerability, and it happens when you leave the pool. Unshielding, withdrawing your assets back to a standard 0x address or a centralized exchange, creates a highly visible public record. This visualization shows 2 separate ledger entries. On the left, a user shields exactly 1.5 ETH. An hour later, on the right, they unshield 1.48 ETH. An observer doesn't need to break the cryptography. Connecting the dots through basic metadata correlation takes seconds. Operational mistakes destroy anonymity. Shielding predictable, round numbers on rigid timing schedules, or trading highly obscure tokens, leaves a behavioral fingerprint that outsiders can easily track. To use the protocol correctly, you have to practice discipline. You randomize your deposit and withdrawal amounts. You leave funds in the private pool for longer durations, and you execute internal swaps to generate background noise before unshielding. The zero-knowledge cryptography powering Railgun is mathematically sound. But math cannot protect a user who creates lazy, repetitive human patterns. This highlights the core paradox of the protocol. Unlike native privacy coins, where obscurity is baked into the base layer, Railgun relies entirely on an anonymity set. Your privacy requires the presence of other users. Watch this network model. When transaction volume increases, more users shielding assets, executing private swaps, and moving funds internally, it generates a thick web of data. That velocity creates cover, confounding any external attempts to trace a single specific asset. To maintain that network health, Railgun integrates a proof of innocence feature. Users can mathematically verify that their specific funds do not originate from known government-sanctioned addresses, and they can do this without revealing their private transaction history. That specific compliance tool gives Railgun a distinct survival mechanism. In heavily regulated environments where pure privacy coins face bans or delistings, the ability to prove cryptographic innocence keeps the protocol viable. True DeFi privacy functions as a collaborative ecosystem where individual operational discipline reinforces the network's integrity. Ultimately, your meticulous usage protects the pool, and in return, the scale of that pool provides the anonymity you need.